This is the sound of your barbecue before getting a motorized horsepower giddy-up grill cleaner.
Honey, are the burgers ready yet?
Ready? I'm still cleaning the grill off. Oh, come on.
Okay, ordering a pizza.
And this
Burger up.
is the sound of your barbecue when you purchase the giddy-up grill cleaner. While the grill is cold, just press on and Giddy Up blasts away charred meats, sticky sauces, messy oils, and more. Giddy Up is the last grill cleaner you'll ever need with our dishwasher-safe motorized chain link roller driven by a powerful high-torque motor, all backed by a lifetime warranty and money-back guarantee. You don't need another cheap grill brush that leaves bristles in your food and makes cooking outdoors a pain. Get your Giddy Up today. Go to buygiddyup.com to get your Giddy Up shipped free. But hurry! Inventory is limited. Order now while it's still in stock. Go to buygiddyup.com and get yours today with free shipping. That's buygiddyup.com.
Hey, warm and friendly hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by one of our good friends, Colby Dant, who does such a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to be chatting it up with him about some of these teams that have not really utilized the transfer portal and how there's a little bit more stability and they can oftentimes be very fruitful for your bankroll towards the beginning part of the season. We'll touch upon that topic. We'll, towards the end, talk a little bit about the ACC, and we're going to hit upon this topic as well. It's something that I've taken a look at over the last few years. Teams that bring in quite a few transfers, but they have familiarity with one another. We're going to be mentioning UNC Wilmington, the fact that they brought in a whole bunch of guys from within the CAA itself onto their roster. I always love these teams that they bring in multiple guys from the same school as transfers. I remember when Southern Miss did it a few years ago with the guys coming on over from Mercer. That was really good. So we're going to be mentioning that and so much more, and we're going to have a good time just being able to get prepared for the upcoming season with Kobe. And if you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. Then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever they want. EdgeBoost is ensuring that 100% of gambling transactions do get approved, and when you go to edgeboost.bet, utilize that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That's going to get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's chat it up with our good friend Kobe. He does such great work over at the College Experience. And if you're looking at anything football, any league out there on the face of planet Earth, he does a great job of evaluating them all over at the College Experience. I know that they're doing a tremendous job on the college football front, and you may recall Ryan McIntyre. He does such great work over there as well. He is the main co-host over with Kobe, and he joins this podcast quite frequently as well. And for Kobe, you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the Colby D. And Kobe, it's always great to get you aboard. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's great to be back. And yeah, man, what are we? 61 days probably away, I think. Dude, I'm thinking about going to that Rock Hill, South Carolina tournament to open things up on November 3rd and then jumping over to Texas Duke at night in Charlotte, North Carolina. So making that voyage. I was thinking about it. Haven't pulled the trigger, but I'm thinking about it, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. That sounds like a lot of fun. The only thing that I think would be the issue would be going from South Carolina on over to Duke, because that's a little bit of a tight turnaround. You're probably going to need to jump in a car for quite a few hours to be able to do so.
It's in Charlotte. Duke, Texas is in Charlotte. So Rock Hill is like 25, 30 minutes from Charlotte.
Oh, good. All right. I thought you had to go all the way down to Tobacco Road. It was like, oh, man, that's going to be a little bit rough, but that makes it all the better. And what does make it all the better is having you aboard, because you do a great job of being able to evaluate all these teams. We're going to be taking a look at quite a few teams that have a lot of moving parts, like Duke, a team that you're going to be hoping to see opening night. They have a lot of moving parts. They've got a lot of freshmen, but how do you take a look at more of these teams that don't have a lot of moving parts? Because we talk about in the offseason, oh, these guys did a great job in the portal. Oh, these guys are bringing in a great coach and everything like that. And then you've got these teams out there in the Ivy League, the Patriot League. You've got some, shall we say, people like to call them dinosaurs out there in the power conference ranks, but teams are a little bit more traditional, like Michigan State, Marquette, that they really don't utilize the portal, and we don't talk about them a ton, but I feel like these can at times be the most trustworthy teams to begin the season and the most stable teams when you're looking to bet in early November.
100% in early November. I think that's something, we've kind of been learning. College sports has had so much radical change in such a short amount of time. I think one of the things we've highlighted on my show as we're going through it, like by the time we get to December, we say, wow, we made a mistake by evaluating this team as this, and maybe we were on it because of that team's continuity. But I really believe November, that is the sharp edge. Like, it takes a lot. We've seen many teams. The one that really pops in my head was Miami a couple years ago, with so many transfers. And if you looked at them in November, the team that went to the Final Four, I thought in November they really struggled. And then by the time late December, early January hits, they start to thrive. And I think you can use that example for plenty of these portal teams. But yeah, the teams that have the continuity have the edge in November. I would say they've been playing it with each other for years. You look at Michigan State and Izzo, and they kind of had, to me, like a breakthrough season. I thought in many ways, if you follow college football, Tom Izzo and Dabo Swinney were kind of on similar wavelengths there, as far as like people were kind of ridiculing them for their lack of going into the portal, their lack of doing that. And Tom Izzo, obviously Elite Eight appearance last year, and that he needed that because they hadn't had a deep run past this. I mean, ironically, I think they made the Sweet 16 3 years ago, but still, I don't think people remember that one. So a deeper run, Final Four, Elite Eight hadn't happened since pre-COVID. I think it answered the calls on, hey, the guy still knows what he's doing when it comes to basketball, and he doesn't need a million transfers. Culture, culture, culture. It still wins. And if anything, I think in November it might win more.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that it is so interesting to take a look at some of these teams because there are a few teams that they're not bringing, that they are doing a good job of bringing back quite a few guys that I'm not necessarily too bullish on. Like sometimes if you're a school like the Citadel, sorry to pick on you, the Citadel, but the guys that you have returning probably just aren't very talented in general. But I take a look at a team because I know you're an East Carolina guy. Western Carolina's team that's really been standing out to me out there in the SoCon. Do I think that they're going to win it? No, but I take a look at that entire conference just ravaged by the transfer portal. So much turnover. They're one of, I think, two teams in the conference that bring back more than 40% of their minutes. Like, that's a team that I look at as a sleeper in early November, a team that they're probably going to be catching like 15 plus points in a lot of games. I think that they can cover a lot of those. And I think that that can linger into the SoCon regular season. Perhaps they do make a run to like the middle of the conference, become 500, and that could be a really profitable team for you this year.
That's like one of my favorite mid-major conferences, but it's bittersweet seeing how much, they get picked apart in a way. But at the same time, here's what I do know. You'll have some teams really struggle out the gate, and then they'll find their stride, and they're still going to be a talented conference and probably underrated conference nationally. But you're right. You look at a team like the Cats of Western Carolina, and that would be one to circle coming into the season here. But the SoCon, do you think it's as deep as it was a few years ago? Because it has taken a few hits, right?
I don't think so. I think that it really has taken a little bit of a fall from when, UNC Greensboro is a big giant force. I mean, Wofford a few years ago won a game in the NCAA tournament. We remember how great that three-point shooting team was under Mike Young. Just not the same, though. I do think the Furman is going to be quite good this year. Yeah,
and obviously some of these teams should take hits with the coaching changes. But speaking of that, I mean, I know this isn't SoCon, but it's in that region of the country. UNC Wilmington is one that was very intriguing to me coming into this season, because Siddle, their coach, was highly sought after by VCU. They were going to offer him more money, but UNC Wilmington, ended up paying up to keep him there. And I think part of his contract, I believe, was a bigger amount of money donated to NIL. So I'm fascinated in seeing what Wilmington will look like. They went to the portal and brought in, I know we're talking about teams without, going into the portal, but this is another side of this, Greg, where they were able to retain a coach that somewhat of a power conference wanted, because they're able to spend that money. They don't have a football program. They're able to say, hey, guess what? Let's just throw all our chips in here. Let's retain them and let's go for it. I'm intrigued by that. But I mean, and they did bring in like 5 or 6 guys though, because they upped that NIL collective. So they're kind of all over the place. They're kind of against what we're talking about. But at the same time, imagine if they had lost their coach. They got to keep their coach based off of a stronger commitment to basketball, which is intriguing because you see this, I feel like more often than not nowadays, where the coach just leaves for the bigger opportunity.
And I'm so glad that you actually mentioned UNC Wilmington, as Colby Dant, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, joins me right here on Coast to Coast Hoops, because I have a lot of guests on from Mid-Major Madness. They do a great job covering this great game of college basketball. Shout out to them. And they coined UNC Wilmington essentially the CAA Avengers, because they brought in a whole bunch of guys within the conference. And those are the teams I actually like that bring in transfers. I always try to highlight teams that they bring in multiple guys from the same school. Like, I remember Southern Miss like 3 years ago, before they brought in Andre Cabello. They brought in multiple guys from Mercer. They were able to take off. They were really good against the spread. We've seen a few teams do this. How do you take a look at a team like Wilmington a little bit differently than some of these other teams? Because while a lot of these guys didn't necessarily, and air quotes here, play together, they know each other's games. They were playing against each other within the conference last year. And I actually think that that's a very good fit in this day and age, with guys that, I mean, like I said, they weren't on the same team, but they know each other's game.
Yeah, and they've been at that level, because sometimes you're taking shots on, guys. Hey, this guy was great in the SWAC. This guy was great in this league. And when they get up to the level that you're at, whether it's, and this goes for any conference, you put a lot of faith in a player that, man, all of a sudden you realize, man, maybe he can't play at this level. These guys can play at a CAA level because they proved it already. The fact you can scout them and know their strengths and weaknesses because you go up against them maybe 2-3 times a year. I think there might be something to that. And I'll be honest, I guess I haven't really thought about that before this episode, but that might be a little bit more of an edge than we realize. But yeah, I'm excited to watch it, man. One of the things I love watching, and I know they got CJ Luster and Madison Durr and stuff that I think are going to be impact players right away. But one of the things I love watching from a bird's eye point of view is the arms race in college sports, especially when it comes to football and basketball, because those are the revenue sports. And seeing a lot of people have speculated that cover college sports for a living, are the basketball schools only going to get a lot better? Because like I just read a story on LSU the other day. LSU's allocating to that salary cap a ton of money, I believe. They're basically still throwing money into basketball and baseball, but the amount of money they're throwing into football is pretty shocking. And you wonder if the teams that don't have football, like you said, Marquette or something, even a school like Wilmington or some of the other ones that maybe they have football, but they're at a lower level like Dayton, you wonder if they're going to have a huge advantage moving forward because they're going to pay more than the assigned amount of money to these basketball schools without them potentially breaking the law, which obviously college sports has been. When I say the law, the NCAA's law, and college sports has been doing that for a while. But I am fascinated by watching the arms race and all of this and seeing Wilmington's commitment to their coach and to up the NIL. That's one example of it where I just want to watch every game and see how this season shakes out, because I think if they're successful, you might see some other schools like Wichita State and some other ones that might try that same avenue.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that it's becoming a little bit of a have and a have-nots, and I think we are starting to see. And I want to touch upon this on the flip side, because I actually started out my professional career out of college out there in SEC country, where things were not so great there. We've seen the rise of the SEC, so I want to share a little bit of a personal story there. I also want to get Colby's thoughts on some of the teams that he's bullish/bearish on for the upcoming season, as well as he does a great job of researching this great game. And we're going to chat with Colby a little bit more on the flip side right here on Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. We're back here with Colby Dant, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. Really covers all things college sports over at the College Experience. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the Colby D. And Colby, we left off talking about these teams allocating a lot of funds to basketball, their commitment to it, and let me tell you, it's been very interesting to watch the rise of the SEC over the last few years. My first job out of college was actually being a part of the weekend sort of show lineup out there for the official flagship station of the Vanderbilt Commodores. That was the year that they made the first four, ironically enough, against Wichita State. The SEC only got 3 teams in the NCAA tournament that year, and I mean, obviously they've added a few teams ever since then, but we saw how many teams they got in last year, and I do think that what this all comes down to is the resources, the just commitment to being able to put out their good product, spending the money on facilities, spending the money on these guys coming in via the transfer portal. I think that that's what's been winning out in college basketball more than anything else, because I take a look at a program like Seton Hall, and I think that Sheen Holloway is a great coach. He has great passion for Seton Hall, but he could be the greatest coach of all time. But in this day and age, if you don't have resources, it's darn near impossible to win.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I just find it's such a captivating time in the history of the sport. Basketball and football, those two revenue sports, that I love hearing these schools complain, though, about the lack of resources. And, to me, it was like, well, wait a second. Before this TV money came in the 80s, you guys were losing money for all your sports because you would just pay for them. There wasn't a TV contract, right? Like, take Seton Hall basketball in 1950. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just hilarious to watch the complaining, the bickering, but at the same time, like, you're in this era where it is legal to pay players. It's the most fascinating time. I know some people will complain about that, but I like it. It's an arms race. It's open. You can watch this. What's more American than this that we're seeing here? And I'm not going to have any sympathy for the schools that say, boo-hoo, we didn't see this coming. You should have seen this coming when Ed O'Bannon won that lawsuit, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, whatever it was. I'm very excited to watch both football and basketball at this point with these teams that have a commitment to doing this or have a strategy. Some are saying, hey, let's allocate this much money to basketball, more than other schools. It adds like a new layer, like an entertainment value from someone like me that covers the sport from a bird's eye point of view. I'm just like, oh, so this team's throwing it, like Kentucky going all in on basketball again. Obviously, BYU. How about BYU? Like, this is... And you see the same for Texas Tech. Now, I don't know if Texas Tech's done it as much in basketball. They've done it in football and they've done it in softball. But I imagine that is coming in basketball as well. But captivating time. And I do think the more that we do this, the more that continuity will pay off.
Yep, I think so as well. And I do think that this is going to be just an absolutely tremendous year in college basketball. I think that we're in for a lot of fun, as Colby Dant, who does such a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, he is joining me right here on Coast to Coast Hoops. And I do want to open this up to you a little bit as well, because Colby, you do an incredible job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. And I always want to get your insights as to just teams that you're feeling good/bad about towards this time of year, getting set for the upcoming college basketball season. Is there a team or two that you've been researching over the last few weeks that you're maybe having a little bit of a change of tune on, whether that's feeling a little bit more positive about them, whether that's feeling a little bit more negative about them, just a team or two in general that maybe you're having a little bit of a change of thought on, whether that be to the good or the bad?
I kind of thought this could be a year. This is just me off the top of my head. But I would say Wake Forest is one that I maybe thought this could be the breakthrough season for Steve Forbes. It is a make or break year for him. But I kind of thought, hey, this might be a year where they can make the NCAA tournament. I think I thought that for like the past 3 or 4 months with some of the guys they retained, some of the guys they got in the portal. And then, I don't know, the more I thought about it, I was doing a deep dive on them the other day, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I can't trust this team. They'll be in a position like they are every year. Remember when they stormed against Duke with Filipowski? They'll be in position probably to make like the bubble, and then they'll drop it. But that's one that I think I've changed my opinion on a little bit from a few weeks back. Or if you had asked me that question a month ago, I said, this is the year that Forbes gets Wake dancing. And now I've kind of sat back and I looked at some of the other teams in the ACC that I think are jumping up, like NC State. And you're just like, Virginia Tech just landed a 5-star. I mean, I tend to think that I'm back fading Wake Forest again this year, unfortunately, because I like Coach Forbes a lot, man. I want him to make the NCAA tournament, but that's one I'm kind of fading. And I'll throw out another one. I'm not very high on North Carolina, the Tar Heels. I know their football program, they threw a bunch of money into football and it didn't look very good last night, but I have my concerns. I have my concerns for this season. Now, sometimes I feel like they do better with less, but I mean, Tremble's back. They got Evans. When I look around and look at NC State's roster, when I look at Duke's roster, I'm not in love with North Carolina's, I'll tell you that, or Wake Forest. So when it comes to the medical triangle there and Tobacco Road, consider me kind of skeptics on Wake Forest and North Carolina, where, as if you asked me a couple months ago, I think I thought okay, they're going to have good seasons.
Yep, and we've done that dance many, many times with Wake Forest, and I'm right there with you. I love Steve Forbes as a coach, going all the way back to what he's able to do over at East Tennessee. It feels like he always does a good job. He's almost like, man, I'm trying to think of the right way of being able to put it. He's like the Mike McCarthy of college basketball. Like, he can take a bad team and make them good, but he really can't push them over the top. So
that's a great comparison, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that one. And I mean, Buck Showalter as well. Like Buck Showalter in baseball.
Yes.
Bad team. He makes them good, but not quite good enough to be able to make a run in the postseason. There you go with Steve Forbes. He's become the Buck Showalter of college basketball. So
I think that's pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good comparison. And look, I hope I'm wrong this year. I know he brought in Schwieger from Crusaders of Valpo, Makai Mason, I think. He brought in an interesting class. A couple years ago, he tried to go like all SoCon. It just didn't work out. He was bringing in, I feel like, SoCon and Big South. They couldn't get it done. But I think that's an accurate comparison there. And hopefully I'm wrong, though, because I like him. I know he's had some family issues regarding his wife's health. So I'm hoping the best for Coach. But I tend to think that the ACC is going to be a little bit more challenging than I thought 2 months ago.
Yep, I'm right there with you. We're in lockstep there, and we're in lockstep for getting set for what is going to be an amazing college basketball season. Kobe, you're hard at work on this front, and I know you and Ryan Ryan has been doing a great job during this podcast as well, are doing incredible work getting set for the upcoming season. You guys did a great job of getting us set for the college football season, and you're going to be covering that all Saturday, all the time with regards to college football season into college basketball. You guys cover a little bit of everything, so love to get people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Sure, thank you, man. We cover every single college football game in the FBS and FCS on the college experience or college football experience or FCS college football experience, but also the college basketball experience. Much like you, Greg, that's, I think, why we have such a bond, is we really respect the work that you do. And there's not many of us that talk every single game, basically. Like, we'll go through every single game, breaking it down or, just giving analysis and just junkies. We love college hoops. We love college football. And we also cover college baseball on our show. So youtube.com/the college experience. And then for your podcast feed, it's all separate. The college basketball experience, the college football experience, the college baseball experience, the FCS college football experience. Check those all out. But those all come together from a visual point of view. youtube.com/the college experience. Appreciate the time, Greg, and always a pleasure, and I can't wait for this season to tip.
Absolutely. It is going to be an amazing season, and every single time we are joined by Kobe, he lends such great insight. So big thanks, Kobe, for joining me on Coast to Coast Hoops, now part of the VSiN Family podcast. And if you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Coast to Coast Hoops, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast, regular season and off season. Gonna get more conference previews towards the back half of the week. We did back-to-back days with a conference preview over the weekend, so we'll be looking to have a few more weekends for you guys, and then soon enough, we're going to be getting tipped off for what is going to be an amazing college basketball season. So appreciate you guys tuning in today, and I'm with you guys every day, and I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.